Hi, this is Matt from Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns, and you're listening to another fantastic show on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Visit selfdefenseradio.net to check out all the other great shows.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, living proof that without practice, there's no limit to how little you can accomplish, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear, where we counter the media's negative image of gun culture by introducing you to the amazing men and women who are involved in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. We're focusing on people, not politics. The everyday people from all walks of life, men and women who volunteer their time and effort, who spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. They're your doctors. They clean your teeth. They're fixing your houses, taking care of your pets. They fix your computers and pilot your planes, and they protect our streets and our nation. They are gun culture at its finest, and it's misunderstood or completely unknown to the mainstream media. Today, I'm going to introduce you to another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. I'm really excited and honored to be able to say that today's show is brought to you by the Blue Bullets. Why am I so excited? Well, for one, the Blue Bullets make cost-effective, quality bullets specifically designed for competitive shooters. Two, they're big supporters of the shooting sports because they're competitive shooters themselves. And three, because I'm a customer and I believe in their products. Using their own polymer-based liquid coating that they mix in-house, Blue Bullets are designed to prevent barrel leading, to reduce smoke, and yet they're priced comparably to other uncoated lead bullets. And unlike uncoated lead bullets, the Blue Bullets are Glock safe. How did they do that? They did that by spending 6 years developing a coating and a process that ensures consistency and quality. I can tell you from my own experience that while I usually don't perform very well at matches, the Blue Bullets never let me down. Visit thebluebullets.com today. Tell them you heard about it on Unload and Show Clear by using this promo code BBUSC at checkout, and you will save 5% off of your order. The Blue Bullets, family owned and operated by competitors who know what you want in competition bullets. Check them out at thebluebullets.com. Our special guest today is Jake Holst from St. Joseph, Michigan. Jake, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So tell everybody a little about yourself. What do you do for a living there in St. Joseph?
Oh, well, I'm living the dream, just what every kid wants to grow up and be. I sell furnaces and I sell air conditioners, so anything HVAC related. That's kind of my ballpark there.
Propane and propane accessories.
Something like
that.
We try not to deal with the propane guys. It's too dirty.
Native of Michigan?
Yep. Born and raised in Byron Center. So my first 18 years there. Joined the Air Force, moved out for about 7 years or so, and then came back to this beautiful Michigan winter that we're getting into right now.
Well, thank you for your service, by the way.
Absolutely.
Where is St. Joseph? Where is Byron Center related to? For those who are not familiar with Michigan.
So St. Joseph, I live about a half mile off of Lake Michigan in southwest Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And Byron Center is right near Grand Rapids, still in the West Michigan area.
What was it like growing up? Did you grow up around guns? Were you hunting as a kid, or did your interest in guns come later?
No, I was always around guns. Byron Center is kind of a small town, so it was expected that you knew how to at least handle one. During high school, shot a little bit of competitive trap.
Oh, okay.
Used the typical Remington 870. That was my bunny hunting gun. It was my trap gun. It's still loaded in the closet as a home defense gun.
Nice.
So was always around guns. Didn't really get into competitive shooting though until about 3-4 years ago.
You went off to the Air Force for 7 years. Did you get any handgun experience in your time in the Air Force?
Absolutely none as far as official training goes. I my first handgun was a Glock 26. Super tricked out with a laser because I thought that was going to be awesome. and I shot it, and I worked in a gun store for a little bit once I got out. And looking back onto it, I did a lot of donating lead to the traps. I would stand and deliver and shoot, 300-400 rounds a week and think that I was learning something. And in all reality, like I said, I was just donating lead to the trap.
Right. Turning money into smoke and noise.
Exactly. And I mean, and it was awesome. I'm not going to downplay anyone that does that, but yeah, I spent a lot of money on ammo and I got very little return on it.
So you had that experience shooting competitive trap earlier. How long before, after you got the Glock 26, where did you go from there? How did you find out about competitive shooting after that, with competitive handgun shooting?
Well, I had the 26 for a while, and my dad shot a lot of IDPA back when I was still in the military.
Oh.
And I thought, whatever, anybody can do that. Anybody can shoot IDPA. I'm watching his videos, and it's like, that's super easy stuff. All you got to do is hit an 8-inch circle. I think that's not hard. And once I got out, I was out of the military for about a year and a half, 2 years. And he finally talked me into coming out and trying it. And it was disastrous. it was the ugliest thing. I walked out there with all the confidence in the world, and I saw a local master. He was 4 or 5 gun master back before the universal classifications, and I saw him shoot, and I'm like, I can do that. And I followed him on a stage, and holy cow, I was wrong. It was it was embarrassing, to say the least.
Did the fact that it was your dad doing it, did that play any role in your kind of poo-pooing it, like, oh yeah, that's kind of like dad playing golf. It's anybody can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't give him too much credit because he's going to be listening to this, I'm sure, as soon as you post it. So I can't give him too much credit. But yeah, it's it was one of those things where I saw him doing it. I'm like, well, I can beat him. That's not going to be that hard. And it took a minute to get past him.
So what did that first experience? What did that do for you? Was it humbling? Did it discourage you? Did you decide, I'm gonna tackle this thing head on and I'm gonna get good? I'm gonna get out there so I can beat Dad next time?
Honestly, it was kind of like going bowling. Like, I'm not a bowler, but it was like, okay, I'll go bowling with him. And you get beat, and it's like, it's not a big deal. Like,
it's not a sport.
Yeah, it's not a real sport. The moment that got me, though, that local 5-gun master, I heard from my dad, because they work together at a local gun shop up here. And I heard my dad say, Mike thought you would be better. And I'll tell you what, that lit a fire underneath me.
Ouch.
I didn't know where to start practicing, what to do, or anything. So whenever I would do laundry, I would go in the basement and I would dry fire for the entire wash cycle that I was doing laundry. I didn't know what I was dry firing, what to do, or how to get better. I just knew that I had to get better. So that's what actually lit the fire underneath me. And I just started, picking targets of, okay, this month I'm going to beat this person.
Mm-hmm.
I'd beat that person, and then the next month I'd say, okay, I'm going to get the next one. I'm going to get the next one. I'm going to get the next one. So that's really what motivated me, was just somebody not necessarily talking down on me, but someone saying, I thought he'd be better.
Right. Just sort of, kind of giving you a reality check of your, put your ego aside for a moment and realize that, well, I'm not quite as good as I thought I was. So you were so standing down in the basement working on doing the clothes and doing dry fire. You said you didn't really know what you were doing. How long did it take you? What did you do to try to figure out, okay, well, this is how you practice, and this is what I need to be working on, or this is how I need to be practicing? What did you do from there?
Initially I went to the internet and I found anybody that on YouTube looked like they were shooting fast, shooting accurately,
Mm-hmm.
and I just tried to emulate what they were doing. And that worked pretty well for the first year or two.
And if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
Exactly. Yeah. No one can. But here's the thing: no one can see what your hits are on a YouTube video.
Right. Everybody looks great.
Yeah, and there's been a couple stages that I've run with that mentality of, okay, the cameras are running. I just had to look cool because no one has ever lost looking cool, and I will stand by that statement. I will die by that statement. No one has ever lost looking cool.
Yep, exactly right. I look like I'm doing great on some of my videos, but you're not seeing all the non-threats I'm hitting downrange.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so the internet worked for a while, and it worked until the point where I got, good locally, and I'm still not great locally, but I'm good locally. But we started taking classes with actual trainers that know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that has shown, the biggest results yet. So I'm kind of a big fan of classes now.
Yep. So how long after that before you decided, okay, I'm pretty good at this point. I'm good enough to try my hand at one of these sanction matches. Was your dad going to sanction matches at that point, or was he just shooting locally?
When I started shooting, he was just shooting locally.
Okay.
It was like I said, it was like playing golf. You meet up with buddies and that's what you do. When I started to get into it, though, that's when we started hitting all the state matches, the regionals, traveling for matches.
What do you remember? When was your first sanction match, and where was it, and what do you remember of that day?
Oh, well, I can't even think of I think it was Great Lakes Regionals, probably 2017. If my memory serves correct, I was nervous as can be. You walk up to the line and you're shaking like it was the first time that you ever shot a gun. And the results showed that. Like I said, that was probably 2017. We shot, I think, the Great Lakes Regional that year and the Michigan State match.
Mm-hmm.
And there were good learning experiences more than anything. Shooting locally with your friends on a range you're familiar with is pretty easy. But when you go to a new club with SOs you don't know, people you're not comfortable with,
mm-hmm.
it really struck a nerve with me. And it was, at a surrender start, wrist above shoulders, you're looking and your hands are just shaking. And it's like, why am I shaking like this?
Performance anxiety. Basically, just
right.
You're in front of a dozen people that you don't normally shoot with, and some of whom you probably have never even met, and they're all watching you.
And they're all watching you, and as far as you know, they're all judging you insanely hard, too. Little did I know that those same people are going to get up and think the exact same thing. So
right.
So it's not a big deal like I thought it was, but in that moment, it's it's kind of nerve-wracking.
How did you do that day?
We don't need to talk about that one. No, I don't remember my first major match as far as the scores. I did today before the interview. I looked up my first match score though, and I went down like 84 points.
At a local?
I had at a local.
Okay. Oh wow.
I wasn't that good. I think I went down 84 points. I had a failure to neutralize back when that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Luckily those are all gone now, but
you really back then, because I started in 2012, and so yeah, you learned the rules 3 seconds at a time.
Yes.
One 3-second penalty after another. Right.
Yeah, you get done and you unload, show clear, and you're like, why are you holding 3 fingers up? Like, what are you doing? What are you counting back there? He goes, well, listen, he kind of pulls you aside and says, "Oh no, I don't need to say this loud, but you suck."
So you are now a master in CDP, ESP, SSP, and CCP. Now, are those? Did you earn all of those separately, or are some of those universal? That whole universal system kind of screws things up.
I made it on CCP classifier.
Okay.
Last June, July, something like that. Sometime last summer, I made it. And when you make it in CCP, you make it in all the other big four.
Right.
We'll call them. So those ones, the other three were just kind of given to me.
Mm-hmm.
CCP is the only one I actually earned it in.
That's your preferred division.
It has been. I liked it because it's a division where you can use an actual carry gun
mm-hmm.
and not be essentially marked down for it.
Right.
When you get into SSP, ESP now, you're running against light and shadow 2s with Cajun Traegers. Right. The Steel Walthers, the SIG Legion X5s.
Mm-hmm.
Guns that aren't necessarily really carry guns. When I did it with CCP, I was using a bone stock $400 compact gun.
Nice.
I've won, a couple, I won the Wisconsin CCP and Great Lakes CCP this past year with a bone stock compact gun. So I think CCP is a good division for people that are actually looking to shoot their actual carry guns.
Right. What's the current? I'm guessing it's not the Glock 26 anymore. What are you? What is your?
It is not.
What's your tool of choice?
I made it with a Canik SF Elite.
Oh.
I know everybody loves to bang on the Caniks, and I call it the Turkish turd. And it kind of is, but it's essentially it's a copy of the Walther PPQ. Trigger is very similar to what the PPQ is. The trigger kits are the exact same for them. So I made it with the Canik, and then I won my 2 big matches with the Archon Type B.
Oh.
Which is a little more expensive of a carry gun.
A little. So what was the attraction to the Archon?
Honestly, it looked cool, and I wanted a new gun.
That'll do it. I
I
put my hands on one at the NRA show here in Dallas last year. So yeah, and I was like, "Ooh, that's nice. I don't need a new gun, but I really like that."
On paper, it has a super low bore axis. It's got a fantastic trigger out of the box. Has great sights out of the box. But really, what drew it to me was it kind of looked cool, and I knew it would piss my holster maker off because it's kind of a funky shape.
Right. Here, figure this one out.
And that's about what it was. I showed up with it, and he looked at me like, oh, "How much beer did you bring me?"
And you said you won a couple of matches with that gun?
Yeah, I won the Great Lakes Regional CCP this year with it, and then I won the Wisconsin State match with it as well this year for CCP.
Very nice.
Neither of them were overall wins, but they were still CCP wins. The Wisconsin match, I came real close to overall, if you exclude PCC, which everybody should.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it did fantastic for me, both those matches. I actually took 20 down on my first stage in Wisconsin on the warm-up stage.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, luckily I was there with my old man, a bunch of other people I shoot with here in Michigan. And they're like, "Dude, shake it off. It's the first stage. There's still 12 more, whatever it was to go."
Right.
And I still almost won it overall with that Archon bone stock, out of the box. And
what do you remember about the rest of that day? Because a lot of people, one of the questions that I used to ask a bit was, whether you prefer to have that kind of standard stage, not necessarily the warm-up stage, but a true standard stage, first stage of the match or last. And a lot of people will say, yeah, I'd just as soon get that out of the way and get it over with. And you talk to people who have a bad first stage and they're like, well, there goes my match. But you turned a bad first stage into was a division champion?
Yep.
What was the mindset like? What was that day like after that?
I'm kind of impartial to it. I read a lot of books about mental management. Anything by Lanny Basham I've read.
Mhm.
Front to back multiple times. And there was back when I first started getting into the mental management stuff. There was a stage that I had a squib, and I shouldn't have got a reshoot, but the SO said, "Do you want to reshoot it?"
Oh.
I said, "Well, yeah, I do." Instead of taking 55 points down, yes, I'd like to reshoot. So I reshot it and I won the stage. And so coming back from a squib and having in your mind, what else can go wrong right now? But I won the stage, so I always had this mentality, sense and point of, if something goes wrong, I always respond better and perform better after that. So the stage after that, I think I won the next 4 stages overall for the match.
Wow.
And it's just because it lights a fire under me of, all right, well, now I have to be perfect. I wish I could harness that power all the time, but
well,
but yeah, so the beginning of the match, the end of the match, it really doesn't bother me. Beginning of the match, if you run it well, it sets a tone for the rest of the people that you're shooting with, and it's kind of an intimidating factor too if you shoot it really well.
Right.
So I don't mind going first. I don't mind a tough stage being first or standards or any of that. At the end of the match, it's, well, I've shot well all day. All I need to do is just finish the stage, and it works out for me.
Nice. So it's just a matter of, it's sort of that, what do they say about defensive backs when they give up a big play? You got to have a short memory, and you just shake it off and try to make the next play. Exactly.
One of the things from one of the Basham books, I think it's Troy is his son. He says the outcome of the match is decided months in advance, based on the preparation that you do leading up to it. And so you can go up to that stage thinking, okay, I need to do this right now. It doesn't matter what you think you need to do on that stage. How you prepared the 3 or 4 months or the year prior is how well you're going to do on that stage.
Right.
The division champ is already decided. It's just whether or not you show up and perform.
Going back to you standing in your basement, dry firing while you're doing laundry, how long did it take between, so you were working on the mechanics and getting the physical skills down. How long after that, how long did it take you to figure out the mental side of the game? Nobody's perfect at it, but I think my experience at least has been that once you figure out or get kind of an idea of how the mental game works, then everything else changes for you.
It does. It took me probably about a year or so after I committed to learning the mental game to finally make master. And making that next level, there's, the mental side, and then there's the skill side as well.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I had the mental side down, but I went and shot a match out in Arizona, and I took a class out there. It was the first class I've taken, and it was absolutely fantastic. Shameless plug here is with Elias Frangula, Shooting for Glory.
I thought that might be who you were talking about.
I'll tell you what, he's a fantastic person, and he's actually vested in seeing his students do well. I took that class, it was about 2 years ago now, and I saw him down at the other sports nationals just a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you walk up, and it's cool when a literal world champion is like, "Oh, hey Jake, how's it going? How are you shooting? Are you working on this? I remember you had issues with these. Have you overcome those yet?" And it's like, that's pretty cool. So taking his class did, I think, wonders for me. I went from sharpshooter in January when I took his class to master in about 6 months. So
wow.
There's something to be said for that. And a lot of that was hard work too. There was a lot of dry fire, and I'm not going to say if you take this class, you will be a master. But I took his class, became a master. My friend went out the next year, took his class and was a master within 3 or 4 months. So I'll just let that be what it is.
Right. Did those jumps from sharpshooter to master, did those happen in classifiers, or were there match bumps along the way? I know it's kind of hard to do that in CCP, unless you're at a really big match.
There were. So I shot the Great Lakes Regionals. That was the first major after taking his class. I shot that as a sharpshooter, and I shot it in an ESP with my CCP gun. But I made the match bump to expert. Had I been an expert at the time, I would have bumped to master. So that was kind of my saving graces. Not that making it on a classifier is cheating, but everybody wants the validation of, okay, I made master against my peers.
Mm-hmm.
So had I been an expert, I would have bumped to master. So when I made it on a classifier, I didn't feel bad about it.
Right. What, over these past few years, what was a favorite memory or favorite match that you competed in? Something that you're really proud of your performance, or something that where the match was just bizarre or crazy or really really fun that you experienced?
I'm going to go back to that Wisconsin match. Any big match is fun as long as it's run really well. And the Wisconsin IDPA state match is run really well. You've had the match directors on your show before, John.
Yep.
And Jason Slattery as well. So I mean, they've been on your show, and it's a really well run match. It's a long match. 12, 13, 14 stages, whatever it is. And the biggest takeaway from a big match like that is, you're traveling with the boys. It was a 8 or 9 hour drive to get there. So the whole drive there, you're talking about what are your goals for the match? What do you want to do well? What are you focusing on? And, the same people keeping you accountable. Like after that first stage where I blew the whole match, I thought, 20 points down, 20 seconds on the warm up stage. It was a 14-second stage for a lot of people, and I was there sitting at 35 seconds on one stage. And Nick, because you had to sign your own score sheets and say, yeah, I approve. As soon as they called down 10 on the right target, down 0 on the middle, down 10 on the left, I walked off. I said, guys, I need a minute. And I remember hearing Nick as I was walking away. He's like, I'll sign it. He needs a minute. And, you walk it off for a few minutes. And, after that, it was fine. When we leave, I apologize to the SOs. I said, I'm sorry. I was kind of a jerk there. I just need a minute. He goes, I totally get it. But, traveling to that match and, you're there with your friends and they say, hey, you didn't travel 9 hours one way, spend this money on a hotel to give up after one stage.
Right.
And, it kind of puts in perspective, like, yeah, there's, 13 or 14 more stages. And, looking back on the stages, I made that time up the next 4. So it was, that's one of my prouder moments of the shooting career is just, bearing down, gritting your teeth and saying, all right, well, that stage was that stage. The next 13 might be, match wins.
Right.
So it was a really, really good feeling at the end of the match, talking to the other master and say, well, you won. But, well, maybe I didn't. There are a couple of bad stages I had. I'm like, let me tell you about the warm up. Let me tell you about a bad stage. But I mean, I think out of that group that we went there with, there were 7 or 8 people from Michigan, and I think we brought home 8 or 9 trophies just between high military, high senior. So that was a great match, a great time for us.
Nice. What at this point, now that you're a master, what do you think is the best part of where you are now in terms of your game, and what are you still trying to improve on? What needs the most improvement?
So my strongest part of the game is definitely my mental game. Nobody, at least on a local level, can touch me on my mental game. I roll up to every match assuming I'm going to win. And that's that. Unless something outside of my control happens, unless my gun breaks, I know going into the match I'm going to win, and I perform like it. As far as the actual technical part of it, transitions I think are my strongest part of my game. I don't have the fastest splits. I'm not the fastest runner out there. If there's a foot race from starting box A to starting box B that's 20 yards away, I'm not going to win. But I make up for it on my transitions, and keeping a level head when I get there. Weakest part of the game, I'm still new. There's a lot of things that I haven't seen yet. Like I said, we just wrapped up our 4th year, and a lot of these people have been shooting a lot of the competitive master, because there's definitely a difference between a new master and a seasoned master.
Right.
Which I've learned now that I've made master. I like to call myself a big fish in the little pond.
Yes.
Once you get to the big lake and you go to the Great Lake, it's a whole nother ball game.
As we kind of wrap this up, what is it about IDPA that attracted you, that keeps you doing it? What is it about the sport that you love and keeps you coming back, trying to get better and trying to be that big fish in the little pond?
Honestly, IDPA, I think as a whole, are better people. IDPA shooters, I believe, are better people. USPSA is very cutthroat, very competitive. IDPA, everywhere I've been, everybody wants to see everybody do well. Whether that means they want to see you beat them, not, in most cases, that's not it. But people want to see you shoot to the best of your skill level. They want to see you be competitive with where you're at. So, after a stage, in IDPA, we have this thing. It doesn't matter how bad you bomb the stage, what you do bad, or, what happens. You get back, you're reloading your mags. Someone asks you, so what'd you do well? Well, I dropped 20 points. Yeah, but your reload was fire. Yeah, my reload was fantastic. And I think people want to see everybody get better in that sport. A lot of times it's because people are out there shooting their carry guns, and that's their sole purpose for going out there, is they want to be competent with their guns to protect themselves, protect their families. And so I think it's just a different atmosphere in IDPA.
Well, Jake, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It was great to get a chance to sit down and chat with you. I'm sure I have a feeling we've probably been at the same match at some point and just didn't know.
I'm sure.
Didn't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing you face to face on the range at some point down the road, and wish you the best of luck in that small pool now that you're a master.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank our guest for coming on the show and our sponsors for making all of this possible. Take a moment, if you would, to check out the website, check out our show notes at unloadpodcast.com. We've got lots of interviews with more amazing guests like the one you heard today. Join our Facebook group at unloadpodcast.com/Facebook for all the latest updates and to connect with other fans of the show. And if you'd like to support the show, we sure would appreciate it. Consider becoming a patron at unloadpodcast.com/extra. I've got some full-length interviews and special content available there exclusively for patrons as well. And if you know somebody or you yourself would make an interesting guest for a future episode of Unload and Show Clear, please contact me at lloyd@unloadpodcast.com or click on the contact page on the website and send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.